Hi guys, welcome back to Guild Chat. I'm your host Ruby, and we're going to talk about the newest release in Guild Wars 2 Flashpoint today. I do have a quick thing first because you probably noticed that we are exceptionally well dressed today. I'm going to show off Aaron and Link as well. We have I didn't even think to ask you to do cool poses, but you guys stepped up anyway, so
Vogue.
That's right.
thank you so much.
Absolutely.
We've been talking for a while about We Love Fine. We are working with them for merchandising, and they've added some cool new merchandise this week for the Flashpoint release. So we have Gollum t-shirts that they were kind enough to provide for us. And Mark, if you could put the link on there. We just wanted to take a minute to show those off and let you guys know that they're available now. So that's an important thing to tell you. Also important is that we're going to talk about enormous spoilers today. So if you haven't finished the Flashpoint story, we did wait a week and a half, and we're going to spoil it a lot today. So let's go ahead and get started. I will let you guys introduce yourselves and talk about what you worked on for this release.
Sure. I'm Link Hughes, game designer on the Flashpoint team. I worked on the Heart of Volcano instance.
I'm Aaron Roxby. I'm also a game designer on Flashpoint, and I did the first Timey's Pet Project instance and also the open world story bits.
Okay, awesome. Well, why don't we go in order? We'll start with Timey's Pet Project, and there was a lot going on in there.
There was.
So let's hit the big one first. The
Yeah.
huge reveal, Lazarus'
Right.
identity, which
Yeah.
was totally your idea.
Yes,
Great.
100% from the beginning. I came in, I started at the company, I said, this is the first, no.
This door is about to get kicked in.
No, that had actually been, I actually started with the company at the beginning of planning for season 3, and it was that then. So as long as I've been here, it was, Balthazar was the Lazarus reveal. And then I worked on episode 2, and we were actually dropping subtle, but dropping hints even then. If you look, that's the reason that Lazarus uses fire attacks almost exclusively during episode 2. That was intentionally to sort of then we had the effects artists sort of intentionally make this like this is Balthazar looking fire in order to again, it was a very subtle hint, but so yeah, from the beginning we've known that, and we were building to this sort of big moment. And
Balthazar.
Lazabalth. Yeah.
Hey, there it is. That's
right.
It's as good as anything.
That's
All
true.
right, so you did set up you set up the reveal moment, though.
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah. So we had, and that was a tough moment to get right. Like we had to do a lot of sort of revision on that, and we wanted to make sure it felt suitably epic and suitably impressive and sort of shocking as well. And there was some back and forth on how much of it did we want to portray in cinematics, how much did we want to portray in the real, just in gameplay.
Yeah.
There was a version of it that was done with no cinematics whatsoever, where the transformation, everything happened right in front of you. It ended up not being as impressive. Like we really wanted that tight shot, and especially that shot on Casimir's reaction to seeing it as that did a lot to sort of bring home what you were seeing.
Yeah, that was kind of Casimir's reaction was one of the big moments in there because it's not that she was just like, okay, you know what? I don't really feel like dealing with this. I'm out.
No.
This is kind of the six gods are kind of the bedrock on
Absolutely.
one of the bedrocks on which her life has been built.
Yeah.
And I think you described it while we were talking yesterday. It's like if God came out and just started shooting people.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it sounds a little funny, but it's kind of huge for her.
Yeah, no, it's a mind-blowing moment for her, and that's why she leaves. Is that she just can't handle it. It's too much in that moment, and that's sort of that moment of inaction is on her part is. Some people had actually read and seen another thing, thought that when she was kneeling that she was praying to him as he came out, which was
Really?
Yeah, which was actually not the intent of that. I don't know. It's not that she was like, oh, it's God, I worship you. It was more that she just couldn't handle it, and she's sort of falling to her knees just in disbelief for what's going on. And that's so in that moment, and she just can't get her stuff together fast enough to sort of be able to react. Because he also, I think he from showing up to attacking Marjorie and leaving, it takes about 15 seconds. So he strikes hard and leaves, and that's,
It's a pretty quick moment, even though it feels kind of stretched out.
Right. And part of that was we wanted to like this was the first instance, and this was the whole episode was about sort of the chase and hunting Balthazar down, and we didn't want to blow too much of that right in the beginning. Like this was more of just establishing and showing him and motivating you to go out and go get him, but we wanted to have more time to sort of hint and explain about what he's doing and what his motivations are, et cetera, later in the release.
Yeah, you had some more time to work with that, but getting that big moment.
Yeah, so that was again, there was a lot of revision in that, and I think what we came to worked pretty well. The whole from the moment Lazarus comes in, we had getting all of that to read properly and getting it to it's a complicated instance in the sense of a lot of stuff is happening all the time. There's several hundred NPCs that show up at various points, and they're all doing things on top of each other and getting the other thing we found, and this played into more the Lazarus part than the Balthazar part, but we decided early on we wanted the boss fight to be all about mirrors, and mirrors were important, not just from a mesmer magic idea, but there was thematic stuff about identity and all that. And so we decided early on mirrors were there, and we started building it out and realized that our engine doesn't actually do reflections.
Yeah, there aren't reflective surfaces in
right.
the game.
There are sort of faux reflective surfaces, and they have a texture on them that makes it look like, but they don't actually reflect what's going on in there. And so conveying reflection without reflection became something that, but we didn't want to drop the idea of using the mirrors, because we knew, again, something we knew from the beginning was that he was using a mirror of Lyssa to put on his sort of glamour, and we that was another thing we had to iterate on quite a bit, and we ended up coming to. That's why ultimately Casimir's beam. She has a big pink beam that shoots out and hits the mirror and then hits him. Right. And the earlier versions of that more had her just casting spells at him, and while he was supposed to be sort of caught in the mirrors, but without that beam effect, it didn't read.
It's hard to indicate.
Well. Yeah.
Yeah. What's happening here?
Exactly.
Yeah. All right, so I do want you to know that I went back in and I played through Timmy's Pet Project again after we talked about this.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Flunt.
Okay.
Because I took what you said into account. I hate him a little bit less. But Flunt got to save the day.
He did.
A little bit, and that was all you.
That was all me. That was something I added into the script and ran it by our narrative writers, and I just I thought it would be a good payoff for him leaving earlier, and I also, as I'm turning into more of a cranky old guy, I think I sympathize with him more. But yeah, I also like it when you have a character who's not super likable, but they get that moment of redemption and that moment of getting to. He's it's not like he's a good person at any point in this, but he does something useful. Yeah, exactly. It's still pretty clear he's doing what he's doing for selfish reasons, but it ends up being for the good of all.
Yeah, he's kind of, once you sit back and, this might just be me, but once you take some time to do more than just kind of hiss at him
right
every time he appears in the game.
Yeah.
Because like way back when he took Timmy's invention and
right.
he was kind of like, yes, I'm commandeering this.
Yeah,
and I'm in front of my computer screaming, run, Timmy, run!
Yeah.
Go! And I haven't really gone beyond that, but once you take the time to kind of listen to him, and you're right, he is kind of a fun character.
He is, and he's a jerk, but he's not
a total jerk.
Evil. Like he's not technically one of the bad guys. Like he's working toward the same purpose, more or less, that we as the players and that the good guys are sort of working towards. He's just being a jerk about it, and he probably thinks that he is the only one who can he can't trust anyone else to do it. He's wrong about that. But yeah, his I think his motivations are in line with the players. He's just a big jerk.
I also really appreciated playing through that content, just how good the voice acting on Flunt is. Like he got great. Such a range of emotions on display.
Yes.
I did go ask this morning who does his voice acting. Do you want to venture a guess?
I thought it was Troy Baker, but I could be.
I have no idea.
Steve Bloom.
Steve Bloom. Okay.
Yeah.
I was incorrect. I knew it was.
His range is ridiculous.
Yeah. I knew it was one of the guys I didn't expect.
I talked to David Wilson this morning and was asking, and he had just a little quick anecdote about that. It was actually just like random old Asura that
okay.
he was doing as a one-off while he was in there doing some VO for
Yeah.
us. And then we decided, Flint ended up becoming a main character.
Right.
So that voice became Flint and nothing else. It wasn't just like
Reused
random
anything
old Asura
else.
number 14.
Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So Steve Bloom is a remarkable talent.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. So that's who that is. I checked on that after we talked about it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Right
he's
on.
extremely, extremely good. All right, so let's scoot out into the open world a little bit. Because we worked on that. Let's see, you worked on that,
Yeah.
tracking down the druids and Zin's
All the
tombs.
stuff, yeah, tracking down the druids, the stuff with Zin's tombs, the Mox stuff, all basically anything that you were led there with a little green star on the map. I put all of that stuff in, and that was that was another thing that sort of went through changes and transmutations over time. There was an earlier version where you were more sort of going around and doing things at the various heart areas, but we added in the actual druid rescue a bit later, just to make it feel a little more impactful, and also to bring out more of. We had the sort of background plan of what had happened with the druids and Zin and all this in here, but in the early version, the only thing you really saw of that was Mox and then the druids who show up in the events, and the mastery, and so we ended up expanding on a lot of that and putting in the vaults so you could get a lot more information about like Zin and what happened to him, and then also the druids themselves, like sort of making them actual characters as opposed to just sort of creatures who were there.
Really? Okay. Well, yeah, then fleshing them out paid off
Yeah,
because
exactly.
it was neat going around talking to them, and I appreciated having that depth
Yeah.
and having some background.
Yeah, and then there, I think they were part of the sort of the Guild Wars bestiary that like hadn't been touched on a lot, and it was one that I thought was pretty interesting, and so it seemed like a good opportunity to bring them in and bring that all together.
The Guild Wars 1 callbacks were a lot of fun.
Yeah, they were, and that went back to also the whole map was meant to it was a sort of land that time forgot kind of theme, and it was sort of and so the idea of having old ancient things there was there right from the beginning. Even before we decided that it was going to be Mox, like ancient golems were going to be a part of it, and ancient
Right.
machinery, and yeah, it was like once we had that there, it was like, oh, and obviously one of them should be Mox, like yeah. And it kind of went from there.
I was going to ask how Mox came about instead of
Yeah.
just random golem.
Right, and that is sort of how it came about. Like we always knew you were going to. That whole area changed quite a bit in its sort of style and theme from how it was conceived until. And I don't want to go too much into but just from a story perspective, originally it was supposed to be this very sort of dark, foreboding, scary part where it was going to be like you go in there and there's that's why there's spiders all over the place.
So
and,
many
like,
spiders.
broken golems, and it was supposed to feel more like a dark, scary sort of claustrophobic space.
I'm so glad you left all the spiders. That's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah. Well, and so as we started going, then we decided to add Mox into it, and as we sort of started writing with him, it just felt better to have it be lighter, and the environment ended up looking lighter to sort of, and that went well with that nicely. But yeah, there was an initial, like the Webby bit came about just from an offhand joke initially, and this got rewritten somewhat, but that he basically was trying to name spiders, but he's a robot, so he's not creative, and so he can only think of one word to describe them, and so that's why he calls them all by that name. But yeah, it was fun, and I like the tone we hit, and yeah.
It is weirdly cute that he's made friends with these spiders.
Yeah, and I'll say I've seen some mention of this on Reddit, and there's so if people don't know, you can after you've played through that area in the story, if you go back to your home instance, he'll be there. And he does. Some people have claimed that he has Webby with him. Some people have claimed he doesn't. He does sometimes. Sometimes when you go into your home instance, there will be a Webby. Sometimes there's not. And
I've not had that yet. So
there is
I
a
seem to
chance.
have not
It's
gotten
a
lucky.
fairly small chance, but there is a chance that Webby will be running around in your instance as well. And my thought with that is that it's not always the same Webby. He's just full of them, and they're occasionally
That's
escaping.
horrifying.
But yeah.
So I brought a golem full of spiders into my home instance.
Yeah. So, but they're nice spiders. They don't attack anything, and they're friendly, and they're fairly cute. So,
Gone full of spiders.
Yep.
On a scale of spider to cuteness, what would you say Webby is?
Well, he's not as cute as like the little or the I don't know what I don't know the cute spider meme thing. Like they're not like that. Like if you get up close to them, they're fairly horrifying. But from a distance, they look like they kind of look like my dog. Like they're about the same size.
Your dog is messed up.
They have
She's
8
a little
legs
messed
like
up.
your dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Totally,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
Yeah, and Webby will bark at the construction across the street. That's just my dog.
Yeah, the mailman hates Webby.
Yeah, exactly.
Just gone full of spiders.
Yeah.
I'm so unhappy right now.
I mean, you can think of it as he just brought one with him, and sometimes it's off doing other things.
Okay.
That's
We're going to go with that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Heart of the Volcano, because I am so unhappy right now.
Yeah.
And the thought of diving into a volcano just to make sure all the spiders are off
right,
is kind of
that's right.
appealing right now.
Yeah, no, the spiders, you get de-spidered when you go into that.
This is why the
sense.
ocean is boiling, you guys, so I can get in there and
That's
get all
right,
the
that's
spiders
right.
off.
And exfoliate. Yeah.
And exfoliate, yeah. Let's talk about that in a little bit. But first, I do want to talk about Heart of the Volcano, because you did pretty much that.
Yeah, that was what I worked on. Just
With help, but
yes, that's true. With a little help from my friends. Heart of the Volcano. We knew the you're just really stuck on this.
sorry.
We knew that the plot of the episode was going to take you from the Lazarus reveal to hunting for Lazarus, and then figuring out a way to follow Lazarus into the volcano, and then we'd finish up with that. So initially, just kind of concepting what that would look like, I really wanted to emphasize that descent, right? And so took some inspiration from a video game that had this hilariously large drop in it, which was in the Vault of Glass in Destiny. There's this alternate route you can take to get down to the Gorgon's Labyrinth that has you just like drop through shaft after shaft that just got ridiculous.
Alternate route, falling forever.
Pretty much,
Yeah.
yeah. And that had made an impression on me. And so I wanted to try to give that sense of just like absolutely ridiculous dropping. And I'd asked Josh for at least 30 seconds of free fall time. He ended up delivering, I think, a total of 72 seconds. It's the tallest map in the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, by far. In fact, it was like maybe nearing stretching the abilities of the engine. The engine was not designed to do heavily vertical, like crazy midair gameplay.
Yeah, like aerial combat for extended periods of time.
Yeah, that exposed some interesting foibles because everything that we put in the game, certainly any of the creatures that we put in the game, have to be spawned on something generally, unless they're underwater. They have to be on a surface, and so like the initial idea for the gameplay involved you like sort of interacting with creatures in midair, things getting like shot up and exploding next to you, and like requiring you to get to one side or the other. It was just a little too much, and the engine couldn't quite support all of that weirdness. So actually, there was a point at which we cut the free flying from the instance, but I'd already figured out how to get it in there, and when our stakeholders were playing through, they just liked the feel of it so much. They were
Yeah.
like, keep that. And so the hound fight got designed around that, and then the chambers on the way down the chimney similarly. Yeah.
So, I'm sorry, I'm stuck on, what if there had only been 71 seconds of falling? Would it have worked?
Yes. I was only looking for 30.
Thanks, Josh.
Yes. No, Josh did an amazing job on that map.
Yeah, he did. It's a really good map, and it's an unusual way of doing combat that we haven't done before. I had a lot of fun going in there and just being able to jump and use the updrafts in there with the heat pushing you upwards.
Yeah, it was distracting, honestly. Like, there were times where I would be working on it, and I would like want to get to the other side of the chamber to place something, and I would jump and start gliding, and my character was just like, and I would like just get a little lost in flying for
Because
a
it's
few minutes.
fun, yeah.
Yeah, it just
Which is fine.
yeah.
Turns out you're allowed to have fun when you're playing games.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, every now and then, right? Like, I'd be editing an object, and I would have like started gliding, and then I'd be over here editing, and I'd come back, and my character's just like like up against the ceiling. So
Come
then I just
back.
start dropping, and then go edit something, and then my character would have splatted and get back up. you know.
And then you've got destroyers shooting at you because
Yeah.
they don't like you being airborne.
Yeah. So I wanted to have this like kind of feeling of bullet hell, right? And I don't know that it really quite gets there. If
It
you're
does about the 3rd level.
Yeah, if you're trying to get that achievement, that was the thing that was intended to be difficult. Like I wanted to balance the instance around just like spectacle, not challenge. Right? There's some challenge there, but mostly if you just fall, for instance, the destroyers won't hit you until you like pop your glider and start staying in an area. Right? So if you're good about waiting until they've all fired and then popping your glider, you're pretty safe. But yeah, I did some playtesting with some of our producers halfway through who
Oh,
are not maybe excellent at our game. And oh man, Amy, who's in charge of design production, was playing an elementalist, and I felt so bad. She played like, I think she tried to get through the 3rd chamber 11 times, and she would just get myrtleated every single time. And she was such a sport about it. But yeah, I ended up tuning the destroyer shots to do a little less damage, fire a little slower, and scale based on the number of players in there. So it wasn't, originally it was just like bullet all the time,
no.
and it was super exciting, but super deadly.
Exciting can mean many things.
Yes, that's true.
I meant to ask you this the other day, and I forgot. Is Amy cool with you telling this story? I mean, it's too late now. I'm just curious.
She is now. Thanks,
Okay.
Amy.
If she's going to be out there when we finish and go outside.
Yeah,
There is more than one producer with the name Amy. And I don't think you said the last name.
that's true. All right, there
So,
we go.
like, they're both going to be out there? Or
That-
No, only one of the Amy's played it, but
Okay.
yeah. Well, I mean, I can like throw Trisha under the bus. She was also in that
Oh,
playtest.
gosh, this is getting worse and worse. Let's talk about the final fight with the boss hounds.
Yes. Yeah, the hounds, man. That was a process.
Yeah, that got tweaked some.
Yeah, well, initially, so you've already had the opportunity to fight the hounds to get a mastery point in Auric Basin. And so the hound fight was based off of that. In fact, 2 of the skills that were put together for that boss fight were basically just copied over. And the question was how to kind of make this feel climactic, right? And also to feel fresh and interesting. And so after going back and forth on it a bit, kind of settled on the idea of the immortality of these 2 divine avatars, right? That Tamar and Tagan can't die, right? Like people have been summoning them since time immemorial. Balthazar's avatar summons them, etc. And so, we fixated on this idea that like you try to kill them, and then they just start like burning the chamber, or the platform gets really hostile to encourage you to like fly, and then that heat sucks back in, they get back up, and you're just kind of effed, right? Like you're not going to be able to stop them. And so the fight is about trying to figure out like how do you circumvent the immortality of a god? The only thing gods that we've established are afraid of, at least in Guild Wars 2, is our Elder Dragons, right? And you've got this machine that is basically hoovering up Elder Dragon energy and then feeding it to the other dragon. So if we could just fool the machine into thinking that they are part of the Elder Dragons, then it will vacuum them up and deliver them into the maw of destruction.
As they do.
Which happens, yeah. And that was pretty fun. I referred to the process of getting the fragments as either volleyball, because you're like getting up there and then spiking the ball, or later I referred to it as dragon balling. And there's actual, the system tracks how many times you have dragon balled the hounds, because the fight scales based on that.
I like it.
Yeah.
This is Dragon Ball on a much bigger scale.
Yeah, sort of thing. But it was super cool to see it work out, and I was really glad. Initially, the version of the fight didn't have the like bonfires that pop up and the crazy like sort of turrets that are shooting big chunky bolts at you. I managed to get those in at the last moment, and it made the fight feel much better. Live up to the spectacle of that space.
It does live up to the space, like you said. It's a stressful fight, but in a good way. I know that sounds like I'm saying,
Yeah.
your fight sucks, but I like that you're getting instructions from Timey on, you know,
Yeah.
here's what you need to do, and you're getting it in a really fast-paced way, because I like to at least have an understanding of what I'm supposed to be doing and have to become more skilled at it as I go. I'm cool if I fail. I'm fine if I fail at it.
Sure.
I'm fine being under pressure in game
Yep.
and screwing it up and having the opportunity to just get better on my own and suck less.
Yeah.
And I feel like that hit a good balance
Thank you.
as a player.
Yeah, there was so back in that playtest with the producers, it became clear that it was really difficult to figure out what to do because at the time there weren't all the like quest steps, kind of walking you through the process once. And then I also ended up putting in like this whole hint system that like kicks in. So like those instructions that Timey gives you, there's like actually a bunch of scripting in the background to like keep track of how you're doing and like how many times you haven't succeeded, and then like
Oh, no.
she'll try to tell you what to do. No, I mean, I think it came off pretty well. It took a lot of iteration to get that right, but yeah, I was pleased with how it turned out.
Yeah, it was helpful.
Yeah, and yeah, it was interesting just working with Primordius and Balthazar. Yeah, it was an instance with big stakes, as
Yeah,
it were.
it really was. Speaking of Primordus, do you want to talk about the Primordus art and
Yeah.
all of that we went through?
Yeah, that almost didn't happen. Like we knew that the fight was going to happen on top of Primordus, right? Like that was just part and parcel that Balthazar had gotten as close as he could to one of the Elder Dragons to activate the machine. And I felt really strongly that you had to see Primordus, and there was some thought initially that like, oh well, Primordus will just be down under the lava, and you know we won't actually see him. And I thought that felt like kind of a less satisfying way out. And so kind of had some back and forth. And then the artists were a bit twitchy about it because the Elder Dragons are like such a big deal for our
Yeah.
game that even just showing the nose of this monolithic dragon, which is really all you see of Primordus, they were really edgy about that because once we show that nose, we have committed to that
Yeah,
shape.
this is now this huge thing that is a force of nature.
Yes, you
Now
know
it's set in stone.
what part of it looks like. Yeah, and so it will always look that way. Yeah, there was
Big
also
ask.
some back and forth because there's at the end of Guild Wars 1 the depiction of the Great Destroyer, and then this like dragon eye opening right when you defeat the Great Destroyer. And so there was some question about like, well, is that Primordus? Is that a Primordus lieutenant? Like, what was going on there? I don't think it's ever clarified in Guild Wars 1, and we had concept art that seemed to indicate that maybe that was much smaller than like real Primordus actually look. So there was a lot of back and forth about this, but ultimately the concept art that is the loading image for that instance was put together, and then our prop artists Sam and Chris did an amazing job on that prop. Vincent, the effects artist, Chuck, putting together the breeding animation and everything, just to make that live. And it was an amazing difference from when it was just like sitting there kind of flat. Actually, initially, back when the map was just all test assets, Josh had put in a giant version of the Super Adventure Box alligator
What?
as the Primordus nose, just to give like a sense of scale, which was hilarious. You had this like monolithic, like big googly eyes, like looking left and right in the distance.
Are there screenshots of that? If anything,
Maybe.
did someone preserve this?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Look at how smug Josh looks right now. He's just this little smirk. I need to see this at some point.
I'll see if I have a screenshot of it somewhere.
That
Um,
is a beautiful note to finish on.
It was pretty awesome.
That's amazing.
High
Thank
five.
you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
All right, we're going to take a quick break because we have 2 more guys to talk to, and we have a short video to show you guys. I had a chat with Paul Ella about legendary armor. Paul put the armor through its paces and talked a little bit about the design of it. So we're going to show you guys that, and then we'll be back with Josh and Tyler. Thank you guys very
Cheers.
much.
Thank you.
I'm here with Paul Ella. He is our raids producer and the product owner for Legendary Armor.
Yep.
How good did it feel to finally get this out the door?
It felt exceptionally good. It was really good. I'm really happy with the way it's turned out and the fact that we've finally managed to get it into the hands of our players. So
I'm
it's
so
been really
glad.
good.
Before we get into the first one, you and I were talking before, and we have a couple of questions that have been floating around.
Fun
Paul's
question.
like, I
fun
know.
questions. Oh, right. Okay.
How come it took 2 years to get this out the door? Not that you were slacking, but
We originally had the concept for having a legendary armor reward when we started the raids, and so that's when we kind of started bandying the idea around. And really, we wanted it to go out with the conclusion of the Forsaken Thicket. So behind that, there's a lot of mechanics that have to be done. The engine had to be rewritten in certain places. We wanted to push the models as far as they would go. And so we got to that period in time, and it wasn't up to the standard that we felt the players were deserving, especially as raids are some of the most challenging content that we've put out. We wanted the armor to reflect that, and it just didn't at that point. And so we went back and we kind of reworked our ideas and our designs so that we got the product that we wanted to get into the hands of the players. And so I guess you could say it was 2 years, but it was really 1 year twice.
do you feel like the work spent going back to the drawing board turned out well?
Absolutely, yeah. I wouldn't have felt comfortable as a product owner putting out what we had originally. I think the rework, the artists have gone back, they re-engineered what their original concepts were, and I think it's a much, much better place.
Okay, well, let's talk about one last thing, and then let's dig in and kind of take a look at these. Do you want to talk a little bit about rune swapping on armor, but not weapons?
We did originally have the plan to put out rune swapping not only on the armor, but also on the weapons as well. During our development cycle, we started digging into the actual economics around putting it onto the weapons, and there are just some areas that we feel we have concerns over the economic impact if we were to put this in its current state onto weapons.
That makes sense. All right, let's do the fun thing.
Alrighty.
Let's start with the light.
Yes,
Okay.
so we're starting with light. I've got a light Sylvari male here. When we move him into combat, you can see quite quickly. Here we go. So there are multiple aspects to the armor as it goes into combat. As you heard, it has audio with it. Each set of armor, each weight has a specific audio that plays, and in fact it has a selection of audio that it plays from, and it randomly picks as you go into combat. You saw the crystals here, they all came out. The theme around the light is that it is it's powered by crystal energy, by magical crystal energy, and that is dissipated throughout the armor, causing it to transform as it does. You see the wings there and the electrical effect that plays whenever you go into combat, and also the aura, the electrical aura that you saw goes through the body of the player. As you can see, the crystals are alive, and so as you idle, in its idle state here, you can see the crystals are just moving around and just kind of idling with you, and then as you go into the out of combat mode, everything folds away. You still have a glow on the body which persists throughout the idle state, and also continues when you are in the combat state.
Nice. Let's look at it one more time from the back, so
Sure.
we get a good view of those crystals on the back, because that's one of the neatest things about it. Okay, he's not cooperating with me. He's turning sideways.
Yeah. let's trick him. Let's go
Alright.
like that.
There we go.
And
No,
put it back.
totally.
Okay.
I love that.
So yeah, and then you have as you can see, the glow is persisting through the crystals. The crystals actually pick up on one of the dye channels and bleed through. So if you have set that dye channel, they will pick up the color of that dye channel, and it will emanate that color, rather than it just being the white that we have here.
Okay. Well, do you want to let us? I would love to see the die channels anyway.
Sure.
Do you want to
yep.
show us what that means in practice?
So you should be able to see on the shoulders, you have the 2 channels here. One will be for the base of the crystals, and the other one will actually be for the crystal itself. So if we were to pick, let's pick a yellow,
Okay.
and let's put that on the crystal. You should be able to see, as we go in, that we now have a yellow hue to the crystal there.
What was the hardest part about this particular set?
When we got to that initial design stage, we felt that the weights weren't quite right. We felt like the medium felt like heavy, and the light felt like a medium. So going back and streamlining and reducing the actual weight of the cloth is one of the key items that we took away on our second design pass. I think it's the mechanics, the actual rotating crystals and the crystals overlapping and folding in on themselves is a testament to the work that Vinny has done on making the rigs as amazing as they are. And then the wings that you saw there, the crystalline wings, Franco has just done miracles. And as you know, Franco is the Raid's effects artist. And some of the stuff he pulls out is just jaw-dropping. And again, on all 3 weights, he's just done an amazing job.
That's fantastic. Well, let's take a look at the medium, if we can move up 1 weight.
Absolutely. Into the next weight class. Our favourite, the Char. Char is an interesting one because, as we all know, Char love to have their tails disappearing into the armour whenever possible.
That cannot feel good.
And is that they're not happy. So we have done our best to reduce the clipping as much as possible. The armor, our main aim was that the armor would not clip with itself. So that's one of the key things. We have noticed, for those of you who are building the medium armor for a Char, that there is some clipping on the tail that seems to have snuck in. We are trying to address that. So
Yay.
we just wanted to let you know that is not something that we have just decided, no, we can't do anything. As we go into combat on this, we are channeling a dragon. That's the aim here. We have the wyvern heads on the armor. We have a bone and leather type approach to this armor. You can see the wyvern heads on the back and on the shoulder, and that the belt is alive and moving. And we are also trying to have it so the trench coat is addressed.
I was going to ask the question.
Trench coats, yes.
Why another trench
My
coat?
favourite topic, trench coats. Trench coats are a design aesthetic. They are a conscious choice from ArenaNet as part of our silhouettes for the characters. So when you are fighting another character, it's important that you can tell what kind of character that is, basically from its silhouette. Trench coats are a key way for us to maintain that aesthetic. Now, we do understand that a lot of people don't like the trench coats or feel that trench coats are just overdone. It is something that we wanted to try and get the best of both worlds. So while you are in combat, yes, the trench coat folds out and it is still there. While you are out of combat, as you can see, it folds away just into pants.
I like the little pulsating glow here and there.
Yep.
It's not... I see what you mean about the weight. It's not quite as light as the crystals,
Right.
but it's still there.
Yeah. It's, again, this is a glow that persists, a glow that you can color. You can change the design color for the headpiece on the shoulders. So we can put a red glow on the shoulder piece
Oh, cool.
and have that in place. And then you can see the eyes have changed on there, and then the other channel will change the glow itself. And the glow is persistent in and out of combat. And again, those amazing wings from Franco. It's
Thank you, Franco. Those are great.
yes, thank you, Franco. It is. I've seen this develop over several months. And each time I've gone back and I've looked at it, the animations have just gotten better and better, and the effects have they've just moved it into that space, which I think is absolutely fantastic. Again, you have the audio. There's the dragon call in there. It's a selection of audios that gets played, so you won't hear the same thing every time. We wanted to make sure that the medium felt like a medium set. We wanted to make sure that it had the dragon, that it wasn't too heavy, but it conveyed the look of a hunter that we've got, which is what I'm showing here.
I like it.
The ranger.
All right, one more.
One more. So the heavy. The heavy is the knights of old, chivalry, big suits of armor, things like that. That's the heaviness that we wanted to convey with this one. There's a lot of fine detail on the heavy. There's a lot of filigree within the actual armor itself, which if I can get in and show you a little closer, you can see there on the armor. The armor is very it's like an Iron Man kind of approach that we were taking with this, is that he transforms you into some kind of battle unit. So as we go into combat, I'll show you the close-up on this one. Well, actually, I'll show you the full one. There we go. So again, we have the wings on here that shatter, and we have the ember effect that floats away. So you can see when we get close in, there's all of these armor blades have come out, and as he goes back, the actual animations of it folding in on itself are just beautiful.
Yeah, there's so much going on there, and I love that it's not just going from that active to inert state with an insta change.
Right. We go into the combat a lot faster, because you want to be in your in your combat.
Yeah, I got
in your
stuff to
combat.
do.
Yes, as you're about to be run down. But when the battle's over, you can very quickly fold this away. Those animations.
I love it.
You can hear the audio is a very mechanical ratchet sound. Again, there's a multitude that get played depending on a random selection. We have the glow, and again, Franco's amazing wings.
Let's can we zoom out and get like a full shot of the wings so we can see what they look like? And then we can hear the animation again.
And you've got the audio as it powers down. You can hear it shutting down. There we go. And the full aura.
Those wings look fantastic.
Yeah.
The whole thing does.
Yes, we are extremely proud of where this armor is. Of course, it's not for everyone. It does take a lot of time and effort to get this armor. It is raid only. Mm-hmm. You have to complete 150 boss kills, which is approximately 3 months worth of kills, full clears on a weekly basis. And each piece of the armor it costs around 450 gold. So you're looking around about the same cost as a legendary weapon, about 2,500 gold.
All right. Are you planning on getting it?
Absolutely.
Or have you decided? Okay. I just wondered.
I am absolutely going to be getting my armor. I have my legendary insights. I have the gold stowed away and all the items. So we have had the recipes out on the wiki for quite a considerable amount of time, so that people can start preparing for when the armor is released. You will also be able to craft any of the other weights. So when you complete your first one, you'll be offered a choosy box for the weight that you want to take when you finish the collection. And then from there, you will be able to buy from Glenna, the raid guide, legendary insignias, which will allow you then to buy the recipes for the different weights.
Nice.
So everybody should have the ability to craft light, medium, and heavy. You just need to be able to have the legendary insights to do it.
Awesome.
Cool.
Well, thank you for showing it off and for answering the fun questions.
No worries. Yeah.
Much appreciated.
I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Cute sleeping baby char. And we're back with 2 new people. I just totally lost my voice like right as we went live, and I was like, oh gosh, I can't talk. So
We're brand new people.
Brand
We
new
have
people.
not existed until
Never
this moment.
They
before.
were out on the street. They seemed nice. I brought them in to talk about Flashpoint. So, I do want to point out that you guys have new We Love Fine t-shirts on too, and they are awesome. We have the Sleeping Baby Slothosaur. So, those are at the same place on We Love Fine. And again, thanks We Love Fine for giving us some little presents to show off today. Same thing. I'll let you guys introduce yourself and talk about what you worked on for this release, and then we'll jump on in. Josh, you're closest. You can go first.
Ah,
I
My
know
name's
it's hard.
Josh.
You'll be okay.
my name's Josh. My name is still Josh. I'm almost sure of it.
What about now?
Still Josh.
Okay.
And I worked on the open world map and the one instance map where you go and fight a Durgan.
Heart of the Volcano.
Yes.
Sweet.
I mean,
Top that.
what? I'm Tyler. I'm a game designer. I worked on the open world for Draconis Mons. I worked on the new Mastery, Oakheart's Reach. Yeah,
So much fun.
lots
Okay.
of fun.
It was okay. It was pretty
Apparently
good.
it was fun.
Yeah.
You guys are making me smile.
I have
Sorry.
a low bar.
All right, so let's start with talking about the map in Heart of the Volcano, since we finished up with that. Link was saying he had some specific stuff in mind. He only wanted 30 seconds, but whatever.
I aim to over deliver at all times.
I can say, I mean, you
Just look at my performance
You don't
here.
halfway do it. It's very nice. I like the Stormtrooper outfit.
Thank you.
I'm sorry we didn't accommodate it better with the T-shirt. I'll
If
do
there's
better
any
next
storms
time.
that need to be trooped, I'm right there.
Next live stream.
Next live stream, very, very soon. Okay, so Link had this huge open space with the aero combat that he wanted. You had the interior of a volcano to work with, so you had a pretty good starting point. Then what?
Oh.
Then we fought a dragon.
Yeah, so, well, it was all a matter of like what makes this different than just a normal volcano thing, because we already did, well, I wouldn't call episode 2 a normal volcano, as there were like crazy skulls everywhere and weird structures.
Jeez,
but
who did that?
yeah, I mean that's the last map that I worked
Yeah.
on before this one, and when I found out we were going back to do more volcano stuff, my first thought is, well, how can we make this a different kind of volcano stuff? So, my first conception for the overworld map and how the fight with the dragon was going to work was, if the dragon had dug down through the earth and it kind of into a giant cave, but under a cave. I don't know. I just wanted to do something different, so I kept throwing different
Yeah.
adjectives at it until it felt different enough.
Which one works?
Yeah. So yeah, and I always wanted to make like a big Land of the Lost, Journey to the Center of the Earth type of biomes inside a cave. I've always that notion has always fascinated me. So.
Yeah.
And I thought of like, how could you get plant life inside a cave? And so that led me to this idea of like a boiling ocean. So you've got
Oh, man.
mist rising, and then it forms a cloud layer, and that rains. And then there's got to be a light source. So there's like, I love that little worm cave in New Zealand that's got the glowworms on the ceiling. And so I was like, we got to get some of those in there. And so those create some artificial light.
Show
and
me that later, because that sounds cool.
That's the bottom one. If you ever look at the ceiling, there's all these blue dangly bits. Those are
Well, no,
like
the actual
glowworms.
cave in New Zealand.
Oh,
There's-
okay, yeah. I mean, you look it up online. There's
yeah,
videos.
Worm
It's super
Cave,
cool.
New Zealand.
I remember early on when you were pitching it, and some of the designers were having trouble visualizing what it might look like, and you were like, "Trust me, it'll be good."
And lo, it was. Okay, so moving back out to the open world, you mentioned the Oakheart's Reach Mastery, which you worked on,
I did.
and are you happy with it?
Yeah, I'm
'Cause
really happy.
everybody
with
else
it.
is.
Yeah. It was actually cut from episode 2 in Ember Bay. It wasn't a mastery then. It was just like a grappling gun where you'd pick up a bundle in the Caldera region to do a task cart there, and you would like grapple up to the higher elevations in the Caldera, and we had a bunch of content spawn. Like you would collect dwarven artifacts and fight wyverns up there.
Wow, I just heard that one shouting Norn in the Shiver Peaks about dwarven artifacts. And sorry.
Yeah. But the reason we didn't include it in that episode was it felt too cool to just be tucked away in a little heart somewhere, and we wanted
Yeah.
to make it a bigger feature where a map really focused and revolved around it.
Yeah, I
that
was just thinking, I'm so
that was
happy it's
another
not just
reason
hard.
I wanted to do a cave because
Yeah.
I mean it was
It would give
pretty
you
much
things
like,
to grapple to if
Right.
you were an interior.
what is the
right?
ultimate playground for this type of mastery. So,
Yeah, I mean, we've got this whole map now to play with this in, and this was, I mean, you worked on the map, and I think playground is the best descriptor for it. This ended up being, it would have had to be a really collaborative thing with you guys working together. Okay, what's the best use we can possibly make of, I keep saying grappling hook, Oak Heart's Reach Mastery. We all know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, everybody's screaming
Through-
Spider-Man
I think
on
we
the
all
map.
call it different things. Like grappling vine is also really common.
Whatever.
and it went through several versions, like themes as it went. Like at one point, it was going to be literally a spider web, right? Like we talked about having a literal spider on your arm.
What is wrong with you
Yeah.
guys?
And like I said,
Spiders.
it was a gun originally that shot like a dart with a rope attached to it, and we also had an idea where it was like more of like a tractor beam or something, or shoot like a beam of energy that would
Oh,
pull
that's
you
kind of
towards
cool.
it.
Do that later.
Yeah.
I just like the idea. Okay. I wanted to talk about designing the map a little bit because you had talked about how you had this great top-down view and everything looked really good, and then you added art and everything just fell to
Yeah,
pieces.
so I mean, it was a bit of a sell. Like, well, first of all, anytime you do anything new, it inherently there's risks with it, and all the systems and processes and pipelines that we have in place are oriented to make what we've done before. So I really wanted to do this crazy new thing. I had to get the designers on board with this crazy new thing. And I mean, it was very important for usability that players were able to tell where they were supposed to go, what they were supposed
Right.
to do, that kind of stuff. And so originally it was just going to be this giant, massive cave complex with all these floors everywhere. And going through the design process, we were like, okay, well, we need to make sure the hearts are spaced out in such a way that it's clear, like if you're on the floor above or below it, you're not there. You know, we didn't want stuff stacked up on top. So we kind of cut it down to 2 primary floors, and I further differentiated those by putting different biomes in them, making them look distinctive and stuff. And so on paper, it all looked like it was gonna pin and it was gonna work out perfectly. But then we hit some snags once I started going in and making it arty, you know, making it not look like a diagram.
Is that the official term?
Yeah,
Okay.
I art the map.
Once you arted the map.
Yeah. So that introduced problems where I was trying to make things not be totally flat and have some interesting shapes and variation and stuff like that. And at points, it was pretty scary as far as just people were completely lost, had no idea where to go. Their perception was that there were like 10 floors, when really there's basically 2, but I mean there's ramps and there's like subfloors. So yeah, it was tricky to kind of nail that balance between discoverability, where you spend time in the map and you learn it and you get to know it, and that process is fun for some people, but for other people it's not fun. For other people, they want to go into a map and just like beeline from one place to another.
Right.
So
Give me a flat floor,
Yeah.
and all of the hearts run here and here. And that was interesting to me to learn that you had simplified the map quite a bit. And I'm trying to imagine what that previous iteration was, and just picturing my character standing in the middle of the map, like weeping, like I don't know.
Pretty
I don't
much.
know.
We ended up making a lot of people weep, and so we had to pull back.
So yeah, fix that a little bit. Oh gosh. The mastery, you know, we talked about the Oak Heart's Reach Mastery a little bit, and I've had as much fun, I think, watching people figure out what all you can do with that as I have playing with it myself, because watching people find out I can use this thing mid-glide is incredible. And I'm sorry that the diving goggles and the little tiny bucket, you don't look sorry, but so many people are just like, I landed on the edge of the bucket again. It hurts so bad.
Yeah, the bucket was a piece of content I implemented in Edge of the Mist back when I
Yeah.
worked on World vs. World. And it was a fun little gameplay element there. And when I saw how tall this map was, and we needed somewhere to dive to.
Yeah.
But if you dived from anywhere, you would either hit concrete, you know, or the rock, or a boiling sea. Neither of those things you really want to dive into. So I was like, oh, the bucket from Edge of the Mist would make a good thing floating in the boiling sea, and you could land in that.
And if we make it this big,
yeah, But then you jumped in it, and you were like, oh, well, now I'm stuck in this bucket in the boiling sea. Like, where do you go from there, right? So I added an interactive where you'd hop out of the bucket super high and into an updraft, and it's sort
This
of
is my
a
life
cool
now.
gameplay from there.
The bucket. I've found so many people saying, okay, but if you do it just right, and you've got the grappling hook, you can like yoink yourself into the bucket. So it's been neat, the creativity and finding out, oh, this isn't just a thing where you stand on the flat ground, find a rock up high, and okay, now I can get there.
Yeah.
So really, really well done on that. And it's been so much fun seeing the collaboration between the map design and this awesome new mastery that does so much stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the goal in game design, is to have all the different disciplines really aiming towards the same thing and pulling that off. And I think we did a good job on this particular instance. We hit that sweet spot where the environment calls out the best of the mechanics and vice versa. So
Yeah, and the Oakart's Reach almost didn't even make it into this episode, even though we cut it earlier because
Oh, come on!
you know, there are people that didn't like believe that we could do it like in a really good polished way that we could like feel proud of when we shipped it, right?
yeah, that was scary since
yeah.
the map was already pretty much laid out
Oh,
and
no.
it was built around this whole mechanic.
Good luck,
So,
everybody.
so there was like a lot of back and forth, even like moderately the way through the development of the map. But I pushed hard on it because I really wanted it, and it was super fun to me, and it seemed like a shame to not like
Jeez,
make it
I'm
happen.
thinking about that map without the mastery, and
Yeah.
I'm just running up ramps for the rest of my life and hoping for the
Yeah,
best.
a lot of the craziness of the map and the verticality and stuff is only warranted by having, you know, the ability to discover new ways to get around in it. So
That does speak to what you said a few minutes ago about doing something new from a design standpoint and having to kick down those walls and
yeah, there's gonna
okay,
be
let's just
risks
see what
and-
happens.
Yeah.
Let's just do the best we can, and
Yep.
I think it worked out pretty
Yeah,
well.
and how I was saying that the mastery was in flux even midway through the project. The fact that there's a druid presence in the map wasn't something that was part of the initial design. That actually came as part of the theming for the mastery, right? Like our mastery for the season was ancient magics, right? So
Right.
we decided it'd be druid magic and it would be, you know, nature themed and stuff. But now we needed a druid presence on the map to help sell that. That's why you're learning this thing here, right? And then that sort of got more and more integrated into the story as time went on.
That's pretty cool how all of that came together, because I can't imagine how difficult that was trying to make all of these pieces fit. So really, really
Yeah,
nice
it's always
work.
an interesting, collaborative, iterative process of just kind of finding ways to make stuff fit together.
It's a moving target.
Yeah, that too.
Well, congratulations on hitting it then.
Thanks.
So, you mentioned the boiling sea earlier, and you and I were talking the other day about how much of a kick I got out of the exfoliating. I just lost the word for achievement. How much I liked the exfoliating achievement because I found it by accident.
Yeah.
I just somehow fell into the ocean and, well, I can't hop out because now I'm too far away from the shore. And you know how you do like that frantic, just pound on the spacebar trying to get out, and no, now I'm dead. Hey, achievement! Who did that? That was a hilarious. I love those little one-offs that you stumble into by mistake.
Yeah,
So that one was too much.
It's something that I really wanted to add because I'm a troll in game, and anytime I can like take those little pokes and like make a funny thing when, you know.
And you know what? It takes the sting out because I got an achievement.
Yeah.
So thanks for that.
Yeah.
I was going through some of
I
the
meant
other.
to do that.
Yeah, I needed the
I saw it
achievement.
on Reddit
and
that there's this hidden achievement, so I was purposely dying in the water. Okay, guys.
There are some really fun achievements in there. There was one that we've talked about here and there on our different channels. The Wayfarer's Backpack is really, really awesome, but was kind of unawesomely crashing the map. So
Yeah.
we're working.
Yeah. So
You're not that big of a troll. I mean,
No, well, we had to disable a couple of the conversations for planting seeds because they were crashing the map. And I think in the Tuesday update, we'll have a fix for that.
okay, yeah. So it's
Yeah.
not disabled forever.
Yeah.
Hang in there. It's coming back. So it's not fun when that stuff happens. I mean, we know you guys are working toward it, and I know a lot of people are kind of like, it's almost there. So, you know, thanks for
It was
that.
like checking to see if you had one seed, but it would take two. So if you only had one seed, then it would crash. But if you had two or more, you'd be fine, right? And then the Cursed Shore had like a different number of seeds that you needed to not crash the map, but still progress.
I'm so sorry that you guys are having to deal with that,
Yeah.
because I know you actually do have other work to do, but
No,
yeah, we do.
We've
No?
just been chilling, like
Okay, yeah, come in here, take a nap on the rug, no big deal. But yeah, I mean, we want you guys to have your backpack, but we don't want it badly enough to keep crashing the map for the entire player base, so working on it. I did want to mention the lessons learned achievement, because you did the work on most of the achievements, didn't you?
but not that one.
Seriously?
Yeah,
You
I
are
know.
a troll.
I know.
You're the worst. I was just really happy to have like another, oh, this thing eats unbound magic. Oh, thank you. So once I get everything that I want, I'm not like stuck with all of this extra stuff. I like anything that's useful for me after I'm done getting everything I want. So thank whoever.
Yeah. Charlie and Elijah also worked on the open
Okay.
world map, so
I was like,
it's
do you
probably
know?
one of those
Or-
guys.
I was trying to give you credit for that one.
Yeah, well, I'll take it.
Okay.
But I
mean,
can't answer
I
any
don't,
questions
I don't
on
see
it.
Charlie, so,
Yeah.
And the rock collector achievement.
Yeah.
You
That's
really like putting things in easy places to find.
yeah, easy. The easier, the more fun.
Right?
No, I don't know. I love Easter egg hunts. I love doing them, and I love setting them up. So this was a particularly exciting one for me because of the Vine Mastery and being
Yeah.
able to actually populate like every little nook and cranny, and even the crannies without nooks.
I heard something about that.
Yeah. Just yeah, because you could go everywhere in this map, and trying to lean into that as opposed to fight it was kind of the theme of the map.
Yeah. Are you happy with how it turned out?
It's it's one of those things where it's way easier to find map outs, and so I'm still like patching holes in the map, weeks afterwards, which is not the best, but I feel like the bang per buck ratio is still there. So.
What were you saying?
Oh, I was just gonna say that like it's sort of always just a constant battle of like how much do we go towards the hardcore, like the people that are super invested in exploring and like not scare off the people that are more entry casual. Like an early version of the rock collector achievement hints had like really vague clues, right?
Oh,
like
yeah.
under a curved rock, and you'd be like, "Oh, there's lots of rocks in this giant mountain cave volcano."
So only don't look under the rocks that are perfect cubes.
So I was like, "No, we need to like at the minimum put like the sector name in front of every clue, and then like preferably give them better, this
Yeah.
is north by northeast of this POI or something."
This one's
so,
near a volcano.
Yeah.
And
The map's enormous.
oh man. Well, thank you for making it a little bit easier for casual. And that's the thing about an MMO